cool. We're good. Oh, I've got to put chat back up. Let's see. Okay, cool. All right. I think we're live. I don't see me on the confidence monitor yet, but fairly sure we're going here. Yep. Came in, went out, came back. We're good. All right. So this is the deer that I shot this past weekend. I am going to make all of it into jerky, and I'm going to make tender jerky. So we're going to add the extra brown sugar. We're going to go through all of that. Now, I'm going to do two different seasonings. I usually just do bold, but the first time I ever had venison jerky, it was teriyaki. Plus, I know Austin hates teriyaki, so I figure if I make that, there's less a chance that he's going to steal any of it from me. When I've made venison jerky in the past, and it really was only once or twice, normally when I make jerky out of beef, I use a slicer and then set that thickness as thick as I want and then just keep going through that. But with venison, so many of the pieces or the muscles are either too thin really to do that well with, or just have so much connective tissue in between them that it all kind of falls apart anyways. So I figured I was going to use this. This is the tenderizer attachments that I've swapped out and done the jerky slicing blades on. It gives us like basically pretty much the perfect thickness for tender jerky. So we're just going to run through. First thing we're going to do is slice all of that up. Once we've done that, we'll have two just about 25-pound batches. I've got my cure and my brown sugar right here. When we make bold tender jerky or any type of tender jerky, what we do is we add extra brown sugar and extra water. We then vacuum tumble it in something like this KMV vacuum tumbler. That binds the water and the sugar together. So there'll still be moisture in the meat, but that water will not be what's considered free water. It cannot be used for any type of microbial or bacterial growth. It is bound up in the water. If you've ever looked at a piece of like chocolate that's sat out for forever, nothing really grows on it for the most part. Occasionally something can get on it and that will grow, but for the most part, like a block of Hershey's isn't really going to grow anything because everything in there is bound up in sugar. So we're going to go ahead and start slicing through this. So the mojo, watch the podcast because I cooked up two different pieces of the backstrap of this deer and had Austin try them. Austin famously hates venison, so just getting any compliment out of him was good. And I freaking loved both of the seasoning combinations we tried because we injected it with our new Walton's 30 milliliter injector unit, which is pretty awesome. It's way better than the little yellow one. And then, so we injected a different seasoning into each one of them. Then we rubbed it outside, and then we smoked them at like 225 until the internal temperature was like 142. So perfect, like nice and tender, just beautiful cuts of meat. I guess that's the advantage of getting a young buck as opposed to an old one that's been through the wars. This one was really nice and clean. All right, so I'm going to get to start slicing. And immediately an issue. I don't have anything to push it down with. That's going to be a problem. We'll see how this goes. Now that might be just a little bit too big to fit down there. So I'm going to cut that into a couple of smaller strips so that we can feed it down through. And just cuts right through it. Pull it out the bottom. Cool, no problems. This piece might be a little too thick, but we'll give it a little cut there and see what it does. I want to try and get them to lay basically as flat as I can as they're going through there. Yep. And see, what I'm looking for here is I don't necessarily care how thick they are this way. I care how thick they are that way. And those are basically perfect for our tender jerky. So even that piece, which was super thick this way, still nice thickness for our jerky. what is... I'm not using my fingers. I learned my lesson. I put tongs down there once, and it got caught by that thing. Man, there's not a chance of you stopping that. If this thing gets your fingers, you're done. But the nice thing about this is so much faster than even just using the slicer, because it just chews through it, no problem whatsoever. Oop. So we've got just about 50 pounds here, which is perfect because I want to do 2 different batches. I've got all the sugar, everything planned out. What I'll end up doing is I will put the first one all the way through, vacuum tumble it, then dump that back into a 50-pound tote, let it sit overnight. I'll do the other one. I will let that sit in the container overnight, or the tumbler overnight. Then tomorrow I'll take that one out of the tumbler, put the one that I put into the 50 lug back in there for just a couple of minutes to try to help everything break up. And overnight, the meat is going to purge a little bit of the solution that it's picked up. So I just want to get that to pick it back up before I put it in the smoker. So hopefully by the end of tomorrow, I'm going to have 50 pounds of delicious venison jerky. Austin, you are more than welcome to have some of the teriyaki tender venison jerky. I'm sure you'll love that. Yeah, so this slicer attachment is pretty awesome, especially if you're doing large batches. And even better when it's like an odd size, which a lot of these venison pieces would be, because trying to get this on the slicer, trying to get everything to cut evenly would have been a huge pain. But for this, all I really had to keep in mind as I was breaking the deer down was, is this piece too thick this way to fit down there? And like 95% of them aren't going to need anything. They're just going to be good to go as is. But yeah, the back straps that we did, man, those were good. That well, Austin and I have a bet going. If Notre Dame ranks higher at the end of the year than Kansas State, it's Mo-Ho. If Kansas State outranks Notre Dame, it'll be Mojo. But right now, we're turning things around. So we'll see. It's probably going to come down to that USC game. If we beat USC, we're probably going to be ranked higher than Kansas State. So like here is a piece just like that other one that's going to need a little bit of help. It's not going to fit down there, no problem. So I'm just going to slice that over. And part of me thought about using some of the backstrap for this, but then I liked what we did so much during the podcast that I am just going to leave those. That still might be a little too thick. Let's see what happens. No? Well, I got through it for the most part. We're going to turn that off so that we don't cause any loss of limb. I'm sure Austin is happy I'm doing that. That's great for this blade. All right. Reverse. There we go. So, yep, reverse works well for this piece of equipment as well. And as you can see, even though it's thicker than we would want it this way, it's perfect from a side view. So let's see what happens with this one. Clean that up just a little bit so we don't have to stop again. And keeping them nice and long like this will make laying them out on the screen tomorrow a lot easier. For ND Mike, the jerky or the tenderizer attachment will be on sale for an upcoming, I don't know if we have it on the live stream. I think we actually just have it on the Thanks Black Monday sale that starts on the 21st. We'll also put the tenderizer or jerky blade on sale. That piece has quite a bit of silver skin. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm actually going to try and cut that down a little bit, because that would not chew very well. So we're just going to see how much of that I can cut off. I tried to do a pretty decent job as I was processing it, but I mean, that's a lot of cutting. So I probably just got tired and missed this piece. If we're making jerky, I honestly don't know how much it would matter, but might as well take the few extra seconds right now. If you're making sausage or snack sticks out of it, all of this stuff definitely does matter. You want to get as much of that silver skin off as you can, because it is going to not break down properly. I mean, you can grind it and make it into basically mush, but you're still going to feel that. It's going to get stuck in your teeth. It'll be a pain to kind of deal with. So, all right, that piece I'm good with. But this piece is basically nothing but silver skin. Try and rip this little piece off. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. So, I mean, silver skin in, silver skin through it. I'm not even going to bother with that piece that's getting thrown out. All right. Another piece that's just a little too thick to fit down there. Actually, a lot too thick to fit down there. I mean, it just chugs right through that. Realize I probably don't want to be sticking my hands on the bottom end either. It's still probably a good way to lose a finger. Too thick. There we go. It started to cut it. You can see, got all that at the bottom, but just cut that off so we don't cut it twice. Oh, here's a big old piece. That's going to take a couple of cuts to get through, I think. See, like this piece would have been fine to put on a...
How long are you going?
An hour?
Okay.
Wow, what's up?
But Josh requested that you talk to him before you leave, but I don't know how long he plans on staying, so just put that on your radar.
Okay. Like this piece would have been great to put on a slicer, but that's like 2 out of 50 pieces. And it's still just faster to do it this way. Come on. There we go. See if I hold the cones down. So, apparently some sort of device to help push some of this stuff through would have been a good idea. Also, my hands are in here, but I'm reversing. There we go. I think I just put too many big pieces down in a row. Come on. All right. Let's see what that does. Apparently I'm getting greedy here. There we go, cleared it. I think we've learned our lesson not to try to put too many thick pieces down there in a row. Slice some of this open. Chewed right through it. Well, I definitely just clogged up something. I'll show you. The hookup for from this to this is an Allen wrench, and apparently I didn't tighten that down enough because that is now spinning freely. So, let's see how this goes. Pull this off. And these blades are very sharp, so I'm going to be careful with this. Yeah, and it's just started spinning all around in there because they're not spinning, so those combs are just allowing things to go through it. I think I have to actually take it all the way out, though, yeah. Or no, we're learning together here. See how this goes. Nope. Okay. Take this off. What I need to get at is right down in there. That is what I need to get at. Okay. So put that there, here, and find my Allen wrench. All right. Get this hooked back up. So there's a flat side to it, and that's where I want this nut to be on, and then tighten down on. Make sure we tighten it down better this time so it doesn't spin off. Because what was happening is this was continuing to turn, but it wasn't powering the shaft and the blades. It was just spinning loosely on it. Okay, I think we're good. Feed that through. Yay! I mean, not great. Not great, but not terrible. Nothing that a little bit of super glue won't fix later. So yeah, be very careful with these blades. They are extremely sharp. Sharp enough that I believe they could cut you even if they're not spinning. Not speaking from experience at all with that, just, you know, possibility. Okay. Put that down. Yeah, nobody saw anything. So this attachment is the tenderizer attachment, and then I swapped out the tenderizing blades for the jerky slicing blades. And that's what I was just hooking up there. There we go. So this is the piece that I caught halfway through. So I'll cut off the pieces that were already sliced, and I'll send the rest down. There we go. Pull everything down. Okay, we've got a couple more big pieces that we're gonna save for the end. And I'll slice those up a little bit more as we go through. Probably could have done a better job putting that somewhere closer to me so I'm not reaching over the grinder all the time. But I think the part of this that you guys never really do get to see is this tumbler. So as soon as I'm done with this here, we'll spend some time talking about what this tumbler does, how it works, and what its actual function is. There we go. See, like that, I'm not even going to slice that. This will cut up a little bit before we put through there. So there's definitely a thickness that this thing is happiest with. And I think I'm exceeding that by a little bit. Like this piece probably will go through absolutely no problem. Yep. These thicker pieces, what's happening is it's getting trapped in this little section down here. And because the blades are still slicing it, the blades touch. They overlap. So we've got some resistance that's trying to keep them there. Hopefully we can find a thin enough piece to pass through there and just force the rest of it down. There we go. I thought I was being good keeping the pieces thicker, like keeping more of the meat together. That was before I planned on using this. So, if you are going to use this attachment, definitely a tip would be cut your pieces thinner before you're ready to go. I'm going to move this out of the way. Got another one of these. I'll be right back. All right, it should make it a little bit easier. Let's take these big pieces out now and get these handled. All right, I'm gonna cut it so it's thin enough that it goes down there without too much of a problem. I'm just gonna slice through. Oh, and I don't know if they're here, but M. Robersaur and I don't know who the other one is. Maybe it's somebody else. There were two people who were waiting on their Meatgistics cutting boards for. I had thought they were back ordered, but according to our guy who does all our promotional items, he says he did send them. I've looked everywhere for them. I can't find them, so we're going to reorder those for you guys. So sorry about the long delay in that. Those are the cutting boards that people get for hitting 1,000 posts on Meatgistics. It's been a couple of weeks late on those, as I thought we were waiting for a back order to clear on our supplier's end. But he says they arrived with other items, and I can't find them, so... All right. I don't even know if that might be too thick too. That is definitely too thick. We're going to cut that in half again. Okay. Even as thick as that was, no problem. And the really nice thing about this is with these larger muscles is that it'll be super easy to... Did a piece just go back up? I swear I saw a piece go back up. Okay. There's a piece in the center that's like wrapped around. I swear I saw it come down here and then get like sucked back up. Okay. Try that again. This piece does not want to go down there. Don't know what's wrong with it, but it gets what it wants. It's not going to be turned into delicious jerky like everything else. Those pieces are all acting fine. Maybe there's too much connective tissue on it. I really don't know. Yeah. Andy Mike saw it go back up, right? So for anyone who doesn't know exactly what we're doing here, we are making venison tender jerky. So venison has a lot of small little muscles to it, so not necessarily the best for using a slicer to make jerky. So I decided to use this thing. And then we're gonna mix in the seasoning with 20% extra brown sugar. The comb. There we go. So the combs, these things, sit down in there and they sit between the blades. As it pushes down, it's supposed to prevent that exactly from what happened there, the thing going back up, from them getting wrapped around. But I think on some of these thicker pieces, it's causing us some problems. So that's more my fault than anything else. But we're getting down towards the end. I would say we're 4/5 of the way done, something like that. Yeah, I think the pieces that are really causing us problems have a ton of connective tissue in them. So I think it's just getting wrapped up in those combs and then doesn't want to come down. All right. A decent amount of the rest of this. Just tiny little pieces that probably are just as thick as this stuff. So we're going to cut up this one last big piece and then we're going to divide it into 2 batches. Yeah, it likes these big long pieces a lot better. Just chews right through that. Okay, cool. So, like I said, we've got, hold on. We've got two 25-ish pounds. So we're just gonna make it into 2 pound or 2 batches. We'll use seasoning, cure, and sugar enough as if they are 25 pounds, even though I think they'd be closer to like 23, but I mean, that's close enough. Throw a glove back on so I don't bleed all over this. Ooh. Okay. I've got our 660-pound scale here plugged in, so I don't need batteries. Cut this stuff out. Get the weight of the 50-pound meat lug. Tear that. And we're going to get about 23 pounds in there. That's 14. Perfect. Okay. So that should mean this one is about 23 pounds too. We'll go ahead and use this one. This is the same cart as that is. Tear this out. Take that knife off. 23.8. So we'll just put a tad bit more of this in there. We're good to go. Okay. Now, we're going to mix up our first batch. This is our vacuum tumbler. This is the KMV. It is a commercial small batch tumbler. It's got two things inside that as this spins, will pick up that meat and then drop it down. A vacuum will be pulled in here. So we're getting a couple of things. We're getting the impact energy of it dropping down. We're getting the vacuum slightly pulling the muscles apart. And those two things together will help our solution pick up a lot quicker to the point where we don't need any accelerator on this cure. And we could, if we wanted, go right from tumbling directly to smoking. It's because that cure can penetrate the meat fully. Now, some people will tell you that you don't even need to add cure to jerky. I think that's a mistake. We like to add it just because it adds an extra level of safety. There's no real reason not to. Plus, it helps preserve the flavor of the jerky a little bit longer. Cure is very useful for that. First one we're going to make is the teriyaki. This is the one that Austin will hate. So I'm going to mix that in there. We're adding 18% of the product's weight in sugar and 20% the product's weight in water. And we're going to get a good mix on that. Just try and get everything to suspend. Because we're vacuum tumbling it, this isn't absolutely necessary because it's going to stay in motion the entire time. So once something gets suspended in the water, it's pretty much going to stay there. It won't fall out like it can if you're just doing like a marinade in your fridge. Your sugar specifically can kind of desuspend, whatever that word is, and will just be sitting at the bottom where the top of your solution will be mostly just regular water. But we're still going to get everything nice and mixed up in here. Now, I'm not a huge fan of of Excalibur's teriyaki snack stick. This smells significantly better than that, so hopefully I like this. I'm just going to put that all in there. I'm going to try not to drop it from too high, just so it doesn't splatter everywhere. The vacuum in here does a couple of things. One, like I said, it does slightly help pull the fibers of the mussel apart. But what it's really doing is if we tried to tumble this with no vacuum, we would get a really foamy finished product. Doing it this way is going to not allow the solution to foam up and make more of it go into the meat. All right. So we've got our lid pressed down. First we plug in the unit. The number of times I've tried to run things without plugging anything in, embarrassingly high. It has a hose that we're going to hook up to the little nozzle there. We're going to vacuum, orientate the lid, and it's already pulled a vacuum enough to keep that lid sucked down. Way back on this backside here, which you probably won't be able to see. It's just a little vacuum gauge. It's telling me how much of a vacuum it's pulling. We want to get somewhere in the 23 range, 24 range. So that's going to take us about 3 or 4 minutes. So while it's doing that, I guess I'll look at chat, see if there's any questions or anything. So ND Mike's asking how the Express Tumbler, the Marinade Express Tumbler works. It works well for this. You have to do very small batches. I would say no more than like 4-ish, 5 pounds at a time. The problem is, I mean, we sell them, but we can't get them. We haven't been able to get them for, God, a year, something at this point. We have a feature on waltons.com that allows people to get an email when something is back in stock. That is by far our number one requested item to be alerted when it comes back in stock. But at this point, we don't even know if it's happening. We've looked for a replacement for that product, somebody else who makes a similar thing that actually has them in stock, and it's just impossible to find at this moment, I guess. The other thing we always have trouble with, I guess, are dehydrators. So those two things, for whatever reason, stock never really recovered on them. We're at 16, so we're getting there. Oh, so asked about the Marinade Express tumbler a couple of times. So, I picked that carcass extremely well. I wanted to get every bit of meat I could off of it. It also had we think like 2, it had a really thick neck, so it had a good amount of meat up there. Now that 65 or 60 pounds, whatever it was, I am including the back straps in that, and that's not in here. So this is 50, well, I think it was like 48 right before I weighed it, something in that range. All right, we're going to close this valve up top. So that is going to stay nice and vacuumed. We're then going to put this up on here. It's got wheels down at the bottom, and it has like a textured tape running across the top and the bottom. So those wheels spin and move this. So we're going to tumble it, and we're just going to tell it to go. We're not going to give it a time. Let's see what we can... So you'll see all this liquid down here. It should fairly rapidly get absorbed by the meat. I would say we're probably looking at 10 minutes max before all of that is sucked up into the meat. Now, I am going to take this out, put it into a tub, put it in the cooler, and then put the next batch in. So when I come back tomorrow, I would guess somewhere around 15% of what this absorbs will leach, purge back out of the meat. Like I said, I'll just throw it back in here and it'll pick it back up. Where we can run into a problem with vacuum tumbling is if we leave it in the tumbler for too long. Because as it's picking up and dropping down, one of the things that is happening is just like when we're mixing meat for summer sausage, snack sticks, anything like that, we are starting to extract proteins. And that is something we want to avoid when making jerky for a whole host of reasons. But the two biggest ones are when we go to lay it out on the screens, it is going to be an unbelievable pain in the butt if we've extracted the proteins. Those pieces of meat are going to want to stick to each other and we're going to have to pull each one apart. But also, it is a contributing factor. It's not the only factor, but it is a contributing factor into what's known as ghosting. Ghosting is when you take your meat out of the oven, dehydrate or smoker, however you do it, put it in a vac pack. A couple of days later, you come back and you've got this white crystal substance on the top. Protein extraction is a cause of that. A cause. But as you can see, there's already almost no loose water in there. One of the things people were asking about on Meatgistics was how best to clean those blades. I used to have a little handheld dust mop broom, just the tiny one that you get that's got like the little dust pan, and that was perfect. You just run some cold. It's amazing that cold water works so much better than warm water, but it does. Run some cold soapy water through it, and then take that thing and just run it over, push it down through a little bit, and absolutely that works like a charm. So I don't know where it is anymore. I don't think I have anything else really to talk about. So if you guys have questions, cool. If not, I'll start cleaning. Because that really is the one thing that I hate doing. And there's a lot of it. We get to do fun things, but then we have to do the not fun thing. There's still a little bit of liquid in the back. This is at a slight angle. That's to help the lid. So it sits back a little bit. So there's more liquid in the back than there is at the front. You can see a tiny little bit there. But when we started, it was like halfway, well, not halfway. It was a quarter of the way up. And already this meat has sucked up all of that cure, all of that seasoning, all of that sugar. So this should be some delicious jerky. So just by using cold water, I've managed to get, I would say, 90% of all that leftover stuff in there. But you do kind of need something to get in there and push the rest of it all the way through. Unlike with a tenderizer blade, which I'll show you. These tenderizer blades are actually two totally separate blades. These ones have this connector piece. And that's because what we want these to do is to sit in between about equal distance so that it can punch all the way through as deep as possible on both. Goes that way, but whatever. On this, we have a connector at both sides because we need these blades to basically touch so that when it's spinning, like apparently I can't make it spin because I can't hold it, we want those blades slicing against each other. So these are a little bit more difficult to clean than those. But just keep hitting it with cold water. Okay, almost all of what's left in there is connective tissue, so I'm going to need to find something. I'll do that off camera. Now, I'm going to stop this now so I can put that one in because I'm putting this back in to the vacuum tumbler tomorrow. This batch will go right from the vacuum tumbler onto the smoke screen. And while I'm laying that out, this will run again. I don't want to run it too much right now because I don't want to extract the proteins. All right. But, yeah, no, that's a good question, Kyle. Where is Tex when he's trying to do that? But I'm going to get going. Still have that one to do, but I'll clean as I go. I hope you found this interesting. I certainly hope this is delicious jerky. If anyone's in town in the next couple of weeks and wants to try some, let me know. Absolutely, I'll give you a little package of it so we can all enjoy, hopefully, what is a delicious deer. Thanks, guys. should have made it all out of bold. I had no idea it was still rolling. I happened to look over at my laptop. Thank God I didn't say anything stupid. I don't think I did, at least.